Hey there, YouTube, and you're back to Utility Sports Content. And today we're going to be talking about the Eastern Conference standings predictions prior to the season starting, obviously starting here in a couple days on December 22nd. And just yesterday we posted a Western Conference standings prediction. So if you haven't watched that already, go check it out here. Will be a card for you to click on. And if you guys are new to our channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And also don't forget to hit the bell. 20% of you have hit the bell already. We really appreciate that. Make sure to comment right away too when you get in here. We'll see who gets into the comments first. So for the top 6 seeds here out east, I have number 1, the Milwaukee Bucks. Obviously, they've been the top seed now for 2 years in a row. Giannis Antetokounmpo is a regular season monster. Coach Budenholzer has been very successful in regular seasons in years past with both the Atlanta Hawks and now the Milwaukee Bucks. And I don't see that changing. The addition of Drew Holiday really propels their roster. Obviously, this doesn't mean I think they're going to win the championship. We're going to be having another video coming out on playoff predictions prior to the season tomorrow, so you'll want to make sure you're subscribed to keep up to date with that. But I do see the Bucks being the number 1 seed out east. They're really formidable in the regular season. They shoot a lot of threes. They contest threes well, give up a low percentage of makes on three-pointers. And Giannis himself is a defensive monster, protecting the rim. Generates a lot of pressure, turnovers, and then he's an offensive juggernaut as well, getting to the line all the time, knifing through defenses. So I just don't see it really changing. I don't think there's a lot to talk about there. Number 2, I have the Toronto Raptors being the 2nd seed out east again. Coach Nick Nurse is one of the best coaches in the NBA, if not the best coach, and he just gets the most out of his guys. Even though they lost Serge Ibaka and Marc Gasol, I think Chris Boucher is really going to step up for them. We're going to also be having an awards video coming out here later this weekend as well, kind of discussing some of the awards we think certain players will be getting this year. And also, I just think that the Raptors are really complete. They brought back Van Vliet. That was a really big thing to watch for them this offseason. They were able to do so. They also brought in Malachi Flynn, get that third guard in there, someone else who's able to create. And now they got Norman Powell still. OG Anunoby's on the last year of his rookie deal. So they've still got a lot of the talent around there. Obviously, Pascal Siakam had got paid last year in his extension. So, they've got their pieces there. I think the Raptors are going to be really formidable again. Now at 3, the Brooklyn Nets. I think this will be a team that many consider to be the favorite to come out of the East once we get to playoff time. I have them 3 for the regular season. I just think that Kevin Durant is going to take a little bit of time to get back to 100%, which is fine. There's no pressure there on them. They're going to be a playoff team, no question. It's just, seeding is not going to be of the utmost importance to them. They're going to, really show out during playoff time. They've got a lot of depth. They're going to be a really good team. They're going to, cruise their way into a 3rd seed, in my opinion. They're going to be, working on their chemistry, figuring out where each other like the ball, kind of figuring out their rhythm, because Kyrie didn't even get to play with a lot of those role players last year as he missed a good majority of the season. And obviously Kevin Durant hasn't played with any of them yet. So they'll take a little bit of time to figure themselves out. And obviously they got a new first-year head coach in Steve Nash, but I think everything in Brooklyn is going to pan out just fine for them. Now at 4, I have the Boston Celtics. Obviously Brad Stevens there, one of the other best coaches in the league, many feel. And X's and O's perspective, he really is great. If Kemba Walker can stay healthy, they could even find themselves a little bit higher than 4 here on this list. Obviously missed quite a few games last year. They're another team that's really deep, added Tristan Thompson, still have Daniel Tice, so that center position's a little bit more filled out than it was last year. Obviously, they lost Gordon Hayward, but that was a position they were strong at in the forwards. And their backcourt is strong. You got Kemba Walker, Marcus Smart. They also brought in Jeff Teague as their backup point guard now to replace Brad Wanamaker. I think that's a little bit of an improvement. Not a huge one, but just a slight improvement, something that'll help their second unit a little bit more offensively. Going into 5, I have the Miami Heat. Obviously, they were in the finals last year, so this might feel a little low for people. They lost Jay Crowder, who I think was a big acquisition at the deadline for them. They didn't bring him back. I'm a little unsure about that. And I just think that, the Heat are going to be a team that locks in again come playoff time. Being a 5 seed in what is now a competitive Eastern Conference isn't really that bad. They're going to be playing the Celtics round 1 in this scenario. I think that they're able to beat the Celtics again this year, possibly. That'd be a really fun series to watch in the first round. I just think the Heat at 5, it might seem a little low since they were just in the finals, but they were the 5 seed when they made the finals this past year, and I think the Nets are going to jump up above them. I do have another team now below the Heat that was above them. At 6, I have the Washington Wizards. Now, they missed the playoffs last year. I had thought they were going to make the playoffs this year if John Wall was their point guard, but now with Russell Westbrook at their point guard, I think that they've got a dynamic backcourt duo. Russell Westbrook hopefully will play like the year he did that Paul George was almost an MVP finalist, or was an MVP finalist, rather. And kind of emerges as Bradley Beal's, kind of sidekick, but in a way that he has the ball and is looking for Beal a lot. I think that kind of makes the most sense for their offense. Hopefully he's setting up Beal a lot. And I also really like Denny Avdia there. I think that their center position with Thomas Bryant's a little thin. I think they could have used an upgrade there. But grabbing Avdia at pick 9 in the draft was a no-brainer for me, in my opinion. And I think that the Wizards are going to be a really strong team this year. I think that they're they have a lot of depth there on the wings. Now, obviously, they brought back Bertans, so they got some shooting. And I think Westbrook's going to fit in there nicely this year. And I think that they're going to be a really strong team this year. Now, into the 7 and 8 seed, where there would be a play-in tourney between these two teams. At 7, I have the Philadelphia 76ers. And I just think that the Sixers, it's kind of hard having them this low. They're going to be a defensively great team, in my opinion. You've got multiple guys who could be all defense in Matisse Thybulle, Ben Simmons, and Joel Embiid. You brought in Doc Rivers as their head coach. I'm kind of out on Doc Rivers. I've been 50-50 on him in years past. I think from an X's and O's standpoint, he's not the best. But I think he, gets a lot of his players because he has good relationships with them. So I think that is valuable. And they were able to bring in shooting. Danny Green, Seth Curry. I think those are two really key acquisitions. They moved on from Al Horford. And I think that the Sixers are in a better situation than they were last year. I don't have them finishing higher necessarily, but I think that they're, more of a ready team when it comes to playoff time. And obviously in a 72-game season with some injuries, it's really possible that they could move up if they're healthy a little bit, and also down if they're not healthy. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're 7 or 8, but I think come playoff time, they'll be ready to ball out. And at 8, I have the Indiana Pacers. Now this is kind of low to me, I feel too. The East has really filled out quite a bit. With the Wizards kind of coming back to relevance, it's hard to not have the Pacers as high as they've been in the years past. I think Domantas Sabonis is one of the most underrated players in the NBA. I think Victor Oladipo will take strides coming back towards where he was. I don't think he'll be fully back, but I think the Pacers are for sure a playoff team. It'll be tough with the play-in tourney to see how that kind of plays out. But at 8, I think that's very likely. And then jumping into 9, 10, so these two teams would play each other as well. And the winner of this game would have to play the loser of these two in this scenario. And I think the Atlanta Hawks would beat the Orlando Magic. Obviously, they spent quite a bit of money in free agency, brought in Danilo Gallinari, who it looks like will be their backup power forward this year behind John Collins. A little bit interesting to be paying $20 million for a backup player, but he provides elite shooting. He's a quality playmaker, actually, despite not really looking it. He is a quality passer, and he gives them a little bit of stuff out of the post that they didn't have before, and I think he's a perfect fit with Trae Young. And the Hawks are kind of hard to, kind of project here. We haven't seen Bogdanovich play with them. We haven't seen Gallinari play with them, and we haven't seen Clint Capella play with them. 2/5 of their starting lineup is completely new there, and their key bench player now is new there. And quite frankly, it'll be interesting to see Trae Young's fit with them. I think Trae Young is one of the best passers in the league, so I think he's going to get the most out of a lot of these guys. Defensive end, I'm a little nervous about. Obviously, Okongwu is going to help anchor that second unit early in his career, and Capella is going to anchor that first unit. But John Collins is a minus defender. Danilo Gallinari is a minus defender. Bogdanovich is about an add defender. Trae Young's a minus defender. They're putting a lot of pressure on DeAndre Hunter, who's going to probably be that starting small forward, and also Cam Reddish, who's going to be coming off the bench to kind of, really anchor the defensive side of the floor. And I'm not sure if those young guys are really ready to do that yet. But they're going to be more competitive this year. They definitely really improved their roster, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do sneak into a playoff seed. And at the Orlando Magic at 10, they just really didn't improve their roster a lot. They lost Augustine, brought in Cole Anthony. That might be a long-term improvement, but for the short term, that's not really an improvement. I think teams like the Hawks pass them up. I think the Wizards pass them up, and it's just hard to see them really finishing above 10, in my opinion. The 11 through 15 seeds, I have the Chicago Bulls at 11. Patrick Williams was a surprise for sure at pick 4. I'm not sure how that fit's really going to work there. I think, positionally it makes sense. I'm not sure if he was the right selection, though. I would have preferred for them to go in a direction of like Denny Avdia. But Zach LaVine's an elite offensive player. He's going to keep them here around 11, maybe 12. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I have the Charlotte Hornets at 12. I really like the LaMelo Ball selection for them. Not necessarily just as a basketball thing, but for a business operation. You're going to sell a lot of tickets there, sell a lot of jerseys. That's really something important for Charlotte. And they brought in Gordon Hayward. I think Hayward's going to have a really nice season for them. I could see him scoring 20 points a game, giving him about 5 or 6 rebounds, 4 or 5 assists, and really being that secondary playmaker next to LaMelo. And, they got a pretty quality 4 there in Devontae Graham, Terry Rozier, LaMelo Ball, and Gordon Hayward. So I wouldn't be surprised even if they jump the Bulls here at 11, maybe even jump the Magic into 10, but I think they're maybe just a year away from that yet. The Detroit Pistons I have at 13, and it's really hard for me to have them this high with some of the moves that they made. I really do not like the Jeremy Grant move. I really didn't like the Mason Plumlee move. They lost two of their better players in Luke Kennard and Christian Wood. And of course, they had traded Andre Drummond away. So they're in and out. Doesn't look good over the last year, in my opinion. But they still do have Blake Griffin. They still do have Derrick Rose. They're going to be a competitive team. They're going to be better than the Knicks and the Cavaliers based on what they had from their previous roster. And it's hard to see the Pistons falling below 13. The Knicks at 14. I really like Obi Toppin. I'm actually a Dayton fan, so I love Obi Toppin. But I just think that they're a real solid point guard away from being competitive in the East. Yet at this point, I think Obi Toppin will be great long-term. I just think if they would have been able to go out and get Chris Paul or Russell Westbrook, it would have really, expedited their process here and maybe even put them in the playoffs this year out East. But I just don't see that yet for them. I have them at 14. And the Cleveland Cavaliers at 15. It's a long-term thing here for them. Colin Sexton has been an okay player. Darius Garland, I wasn't really in love with the pick there. I think Isaac Okoro is perfect for them. He's going to give them that defensive presence, but he can't guard all five guys. Kevin Love's a so-so defender, especially at the 4 now in today's NBA. I like Andre Drummond, but I don't know what he gives you on a night-to-night basis consistently, especially on the offensive end of the floor. He's going to give you offensive rebounds, I know that, but he's not the best pick-and-roll option. He's not going to be a post-scoring threat, really. On a night-to-night basis, regardless of switches. So you're looking at, kind of a tough offense situation and really not a great defensive scenario. I think Drummond was a big improvement over Tristan Thompson on the defensive end of the floor. Offensively, he's a slight improvement. Long-term, Kevin Love, it's just, you haven't really gotten the same Kevin Love that you were hoping you traded Andrew Wiggins for. And it's just, quite frankly, going to be probably another last year here for Cleveland, but that's okay. It's okay. Got a long-term rebuild. Maybe they make a run at Cade Cunningham, Evan Mobley in the draft. You've got some different options there. So hopefully they can come out with one of those guys. Maybe even Jalen Green, who's coming out of the G League. It'll be interesting to kind of monitor that. But I see them, finishing last in the East. And honestly, it's going to be an interesting year in the East. They're really competitive. You look at these top 10 teams. Those are 10 good teams, honestly. They're not going to be, I don't think they're as deep as the West, for sure. I'm not saying that. But they are much improved. With the Wizards being a better team this year and healthy, with the Hawks spending in free agency and the Magic, kind of staying put, they're pretty deep. So this has been the standings predictions here for Utility Sports. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys haven't, make sure to go check out our Western Conference predictions and hit the subscribe button, as we'll have player awards coming out soon, what our predictions are for the season, and also kind of what our finals predictions could look like for playoff time. We'll be having that coming out here shortly. So hit that subscribe button, and we'll catch you guys in the next video.